There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With over 140 channels in your vehicle, your all-access trial includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.
What's going on, guys? And thanks for tuning in to another CMA Connected presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. We are midweek, and on today's show, we have a very special guest. Obviously, somebody who's very near and dear to the entire CMA family here. For without him and his brand support, we probably wouldn't be here. So, of course, we owe a lot to this brand and to this individual. And I've heard from many people within the industry that this is probably not only the most popular individual in the entire industry, but also everybody's best friend. So I'd like to bring him on. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes together learning something that we haven't had the chance to really get into too much. I mean, sure, we've had a lot of sessions where we talk about, different ways that could help you as a dealer, sell through on, SXV 300 or different type of selling points. But today we're going to dive into content, which I feel personally really where SXM really shines. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get Mr. Ricky Lima to join us. I was going to say Newmarket again. It's not Newmarket, is it, Ricky?
East Gwillimbury.
East Gwillimbury. There you go.
Gwillimbury. So, Ben, I want to know who said that to you.
I can't tell you.
That best friends and
yeah, you're
I think they're lying.
No, they're not. these were on the side conversations. No, just like that, and everybody refers to. I think one of the reasons, Ricky, is you guys are the products that you have, or the hardware anyways, are distributed by some of the biggest distributors we have in the country. Right?
We have the best distributor partners in Canada. The support that everybody provides us is tremendous, and we would not be where we are today from an aftermarket perspective without the support of all of our distributor partners, manufacturer partners, head unit, source unit partners. We have some great people backing us, and we try to back them in the same way. And through that, I have met some of the greatest, most humble, hardworking people in the industry. So it really is the driving force to what I do today. It makes my job that much easier.
Yeah, and it definitely shows because you touch everybody from a business standpoint on a daily, right? Mm-hmm. You collaborate with so many people. You obviously we do our best to put your brand in the front, and we're kind of busy. So absolutely very important. Your stature, I would say, within the industry. And hey, kudos. I mean, people. I'm telling you, no joke. You are everybody's best friend. That's
it. Well, I'm humbled. Thank you.
All right. So on this lunchtime learning session, we said it in the little intro as well as the description. We want to dive into content because really, if you take a look at it, Sirius is, we always talk about SXV 300 and we talk about, maybe base technology and how you get, the signal into your vehicle. But really, at the heart of it, what makes SiriusXM so special is the content that it provides.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really, if I think back to when I started, over 15 years ago, and how things have changed and how the programming has expanded, but just so much. Yes, Conrad. Yeah. Thank you for your support as always. Yeah. Anyways, I think back to, when I started and where we are today, and it's, when I think about the trade shows and the people that I've met through the industry, but all the trade shows that I've done with the various distributors or, different markets that I've worked on, the programming side is the stuff that I love to talk about the most because it's where all the excitement is. I mean, it's important for dealers to know how important it is to upsell and to add on anything that you can once you have a customer in there to ensure that they get the best service, the best professional installation, but also make sure that it's a profitable business for them. So the hardware side is very important, but understanding why people are adding that hardware, I think, is even more important. And I think this is the reason why I wanted to spend, today's lunch hour talking about our programming.
Yeah,
very excited about it.
Very exciting. I mean, I know that we touched on it in the past a little bit, but now we're going to really dive in and get to up to date, because I also know that there's certain channels that, they come and go. They don't always stay static. They're special in the moment, timely. So we'd like to get some updates on what the latest and greatest is too.
Yeah, exactly. And our good friend that we will have on will know much more than I do, because as much as I consume SiriusXM on a daily basis, whether I'm listening to it on my Google device in my office, or whether I'm driving around, I'm always consuming SiriusXM. But as much as I consume, there's way too much content for me to get a piece of everything. There's so much content that's available, and there's things that are always changing that I don't always know too, every single thing that's happening. So it's also great. I'm really happy that we have our guest today that's joining us to talk and bring us up to speed.
Well, I think you nailed it on the head, because I'm reading his description and his title.
Yeah.
The gentleman's name is Jeff Leake, works at SiriusXM, and his title is Director of Music Programming.
Yeah. He's the big fish.
If he doesn't know, who would, really?
No, exactly.
That knows. Why don't we go ahead and bring him on? Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Jeff Leake to the program. What's going on, Jeff?
Hey, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. Obviously, with your title, we recognize that you have a busy schedule to stay on top of. But as Ricky had mentioned, if we're going to go deep into what SiriusXM offers from a content perspective, what better way than to have the person in charge of that content with us today? So thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit. How long have you been with SiriusXM? You're new on the show. We know all about Ricky, so there's not much to talk about. But as far as you, sir, how long have you been with the company? And is it as elaborate and as what's the word I'm looking for? Does it have all the perks that your title sounds like it has?
You know what? I'm definitely on the cool side of the
Don't
business
divulge too much, Jeff.
Yeah, as I see it. I mean, I get to play with bands. I go see concerts. I
that's part
bands.
of your job.
Yeah, it really is. With SiriusXM, we meet bands in all areas of their careers. It could be from the first time that they're going out on stage to, it's their reunion tour and they're getting back together again. We're always interacting with artists. And the cool thing with that is we do such unique programming that we develop relationships with these artists while we're doing such. And one of the things that is probably the easiest lifting as far as my job is when we first start relationships, say maybe with a young band, sooner or later, 10 years go by and you realize these bands have now become much more established and they're still pals with you. And I don't tell the bands, but I definitely take advantage of those relationships when I can. When we put on some special programs.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier putting in a call to a pal saying, hey, are you willing to participate, than just anybody off the street. So yeah, there's definitely some perks and definitely a lot of concerts, and I'm glad they're all coming back.
That is such a big thing. I mean, we all love music. This is kind of why many of us are in the industry, and all we're trying to do with, especially car stereos and whatnot, is trying to replicate that live experience in the platform that you happen to be sitting in, right? Many things of what you said there I want to comment on, but I know that we're going to go through a presentation, because what I want our audience to understand, how important content is also how involved SiriusXM is with regard to that content from a developmental standpoint on many occasions, and different programs that you have going on. But I think we're going to get into that.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
All right.
And actually, I thought of something too that I wanted to ask Jeff. We actually didn't even discuss this prior to the show. Is, Jeff, you're probably the closest to the Canadian artists that we work with at SiriusXM Canada. What have they been saying over the last year and change about how COVID has impacted their lifestyle and some of the benefits and some of the challenges that they've seen?
Yeah, well, it's obviously been very devastating to the music industry. I mean, if we go back 10 years ago, bands would still make money selling, their products. And yes, there's a surge in vinyl purchasing over the last few years where the bands can make some dollars off of it. comes nowhere near what live touring pays for a band. And it has put a lot of strain on the industry as a whole, because even with, you got to think that there's bands who are out touring, but they also have a lot of support that are involved with the band. And if the touring isn't paying for the band, then touring isn't paying for the support. And, you know, it goes all the way down the line through concessions at the venues, to security at the venues, to parking attendants, to it's so interconnected with what music does and what kind of economy we live in with music as it is live. The nice thing, I mean, if there's any sort of silver lining in what has gone on in the last little bit, is SiriusXM pays substantial royalties to artists because they're being played across North America. They're not just being played in one market or one town and stuff. So I'll tell you, I get emails and texts from friends that are in bands, and I know exactly why they're texting me. And they say, they don't come out and say, I just got a big royalty check in the mail. They come out and say, hey man, I was just thinking of you. And I know exactly what that is, because they just got a check. But, you know, it has definitely helped out. And I just think that it's been a crushing blow for a lot of artists. And thankfully things are opening up. And if you can, in your market, in your town, wherever it is, as things open up, if you feel safe, if you feel secure, go out and support a band in the next little bit. And it'll make everyone's day a little bit better.
How about a comment like that makes your day better?
Yeah. Well, I can't wait. I live in Toronto.
Do you see that on the bottom?
Finally, oh my goodness, Paul.
I go to shows probably see 2 or 3 shows a week.
Wow.
And and it's so funny because my family are like, I guess, you know, you're going to be home more. I'm like, oh no, we got to make up for lost time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be out quite a bit, but I can't wait as things are opening up, you know, and even the bands too. I'll tell you, we did a show recently with a band, and it was during lockdown, and we were in a secure and safe setting, social distancing. It was outdoors and stuff. And it was the first time that I've seen live music in over a year. And when I interviewed the artists from a distance and that, these artists, they were just so excited to talk to somebody in the flesh, and it made my job so easy. I almost didn't even have to ask a question. It was like talking to anybody in Metallica. You go, hey, the mic's on, and they just talk for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same deal with these artists that I ran into. And you know what? The performances are already there. There's so much energy. So get ready for it. It's going to be good.
Can't wait.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, me too. I had two of my Pearl Jam shows canceled, which I was really looking at. Three shows that were canceled.
The 17 did you go to in a year?
So you know about the addiction. Okay, you're aware. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it, gentlemen.
Awesome. Let's get going.
Let's get to know a little bit more about content and SiriusXM. Ricky, I'll let you take the lead.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we covered off some of these slides. So some of those that tuned into Industry Week and we spent the first hour really focusing on the programming. This is kind of a little bit of a recap. We're going to go into some more detail and obviously the biggest benefit today, which I couldn't thank him enough, is having Jeff join us to really dive into, and we'll spend some more time talking about what we really mean from a Canadian artist perspective, not just on the music side, but on the comedy, but really with SiriusXM. You know, this slide speaks for itself. There's always something good on, right? You're never gonna get bored with what the entertainment that SiriusXM has to offer. So if we move over to the next slide, probably the most favorite and unfavorite slide here because it's a little bit of an eyesore, but what we're trying to capture here is, you know, and I think I posted this to some of my friends on my Facebook feed too, and hopefully some will catch this. Content is king, and we have over 300 channels. When you mix satellite and streaming together to figure out to have the full capability of consuming what SiriusXM has to offer, you're looking at over 300 channels of every genre, right? So whether you want to get into the decades from the 50s all the way to the 90s, or if you want to get into pop music, classical, country, you want to get into something specific to, you know, Canadian artists, if you want to get into news, sports, talk, entertainment, Howard Stern, you know, there's not enough room to actually show every single channel that we have available. So really, and the evolution, which we'll talk about too, but content is king, and this is what we're trying to get across with with what you see here. You got something to add, Jeff?
Well, I was just going to say, like, what we offer is genres within the genre. I mean, if you look at your local radio market, whatever city or town you're in, you have a rock station, you have a pop station, and you have a classic hit station. Well, we have classic hit stations that are in their own kind of genre themselves, where it's decades of classic hits layered on top of one another, giving you just so much variety and options to flip through the channels and say, you know what, this song may not be for me right now. I'm going to go over just one over, and I'm going to hit another pop station that might be more contemporary, it might be more classic, but it's going to maybe find that song for you, and it's just all at the fingertip and all immediate.
I have to make a comment here. There's one thing I have to give to SXM is the type of partnerships, co-branding partnerships that have been secured. It's unbelievable. I'm just looking at this screen of logo. I mean, Disney, like some of the biggest brands on the planet, right? Really, are all here and represented. And when you said, every gambit of the spectrum, I mean, you have everything from the Catholic channel for those that are interested in maybe some worship type stuff, all the way to Howard Stern, and literally two ends of the spectrum there, what I just said, and everything in between. It's very hard to argue that there isn't something in here for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the nice thing too about it is it may not I don't listen to everything on SiriusXM. I can't.
How can you? It's not physically possible.
Yeah. If at 300 plus, it will take you closer to a year just on the graphic that we're looking at to listen to one a day. But I do have presets in my car that jump from genre to genre. And it's just because it's immediate. And people would be surprised, like if I was listening to Ozzy's Boneyard, which is obviously a lot of Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne and such. The next one that I have as a preset is the Symphony channel, Symphony Hall. And it's just to have a different sound right at my fingertip anytime I want it. Now, very rarely do I go from the Ozzy's Boneyard to the Symphony channel. I don't flip back and forth.
I usually do Ozzy to Hair.
Yeah. So there you go. Hair Nation.
So
yeah.
But that just speaks to all the partnerships though too that we have. It's just all available right away. Get your Howard Stern in the morning, and then from there you can blast your way through all the music, or even many of the talk channels, because there's lots of additional talk that is Howard Stern-esque if you're looking for it on our platform that could really complement the listening experience.
The other thing I want to mention here before we get to the next slide is, there's so many monthly type services that we pay for now that we never paid for 2 years ago even, right? We don't need to name them, but there's a lot, right? There's a lot of different ones. This is one of those that literally one subscription satisfies your entire family.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good point, because my wife has channels that she likes to listen to. I'm in my own zone, and I have a teenage daughter who, the second she gets in the car, it's the most annoying thing ever. But whatever you're listening to, it doesn't matter, because she's a passenger and she's already flipped it over to what she needs immediately at that time. But you're right. There is something, honestly, for
I've got
everyone.
3 boys, and all 3 of them listen to different type music.
Right.
So but there's something there. Is what I'm saying.
We got something for them,
but you got everything.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I have not discovered 80% of the channels that are here yet. But I'm happy with the 20% that I do use or listen to.
Right. Well, there's even more technology coming that we can talk about later in the deck.
Okay.
That, will even change your experience that much further.
And the one thing too, before we move on to the off of this one, I was just thinking too about like all the different music channels that we have available, and all the different, you flipping through these different genres and what some of these songs and channels they can trigger. And I think back to, you've had Justin Bond on many times talking about how, and this is really how SiriusXM ties into, the industry that CMA and SiriusXM is supporting, is really creating that experience. And like Justin says all the time, thinking back to when you first heard that first song, you're on a date with a guy or girl, and and something comes on and it just triggers that memory. And that's what we're all about. We're all about creating memories and really helping people enjoy what we have to offer, and really, and again, just like creating that experience that they had maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, and whatever flavor that happened to be, it's
That's right.
represented here somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I really believe, I put money down, there's not a single category that's missed here. No matter how like mundane it may be. It's I mean, there's an emo project channel, man. There's an emo project channel.
Yeah, I tell you, I think we had someone ask about a square dancing channel at one point. So we do get those conversations that come across every once in a while.
I tell you,
but that just goes to show how deep it goes.
It's very deep, no doubt about it. All right.
Awesome. Let's keep going so we don't run out of time here. So this is where I kind of really wanted to have Jeff jump in here, because, you know, one of the things that really makes us unique is the people that are working behind the scenes, whether they're people that are running the music channels or people that are running the channels that, you know, conduct interviews and really what happens in studio. That's where the magic happens. And there's magic that happens in the US with all the different studios that run across the country, and in Canada as well. We've got studios where there's live performances and interviews from music, talk, comedy. So Jeff, maybe you can talk a little bit about what happens kind of behind the scenes.
You know, it's something that is so unique in this industry. It's where the artists are actually calling us up saying, hey, I'm going to be in the market. Do you want to do something together? Where I've been working radio for years, and the artists themselves were like, oh God, I got to do a radio interview. Oh God, I got to go to do something on TV. SiriusXM, because we talk about being in that branded lane of whatever that genre is, it is so specialized that whoever our host is, whoever is working on the project, and whoever the artist or talent is who are coming in, they all know that everything is in sync right off the bat. So when we do our exclusive in-studio performances, magic happens. I mean, there has been so many releases that have been recorded in our studios over the last dozen years that have been sold, pressed to vinyl, and there's only going to be more to come. And then when you look at some of these big shows that we presented, I don't know, Ricky, if you're familiar with the band Pearl Jam, but we were going to
Never heard of
show. We were just before the lockdown, I think it was probably 2 weeks maybe after the lockdown happened, was when we were supposed to have Pearl Jam play at the Apollo.
Oh,
you know, the Apollo in Harlem. And I still thought it was going to happen because, you know, when lockdown went on, we were like, COVID, what are you talking about? We're just going to vacation for a week, aren't we? Mm-hmm. But we almost had Pearl Jam in. But, you know, you started off your slide, the exclusives, and you had Lady Gaga. That was at the Apollo. We've had U2 at the Apollo. We've had Springsteen. And these
small
are
bands.
all, yeah,
small obscure bands.
Guns N' Roses. You know, all of this stuff, it goes on all the time. And there's only more to come. And when it comes into, you know, being in our studios and that, the bands want to be there. They make it part of their day, and everything else that they do in their day is done after the work with SiriusXM. It's not for Sirius, it's with, because we really are partners with
I think
the
it's on their checklist now.
Without question. And like, we're also at a majority of the festivals throughout North America. You know, Lollapalooza is going to have 88,000 people at Grant Park in 2 weeks' time, and SiriusXM will be bringing Lollapalooza to air during that time. We will be bringing, I don't know if there's 7 stages, but we bounce from one stage to the other, bringing live content. And then we're also backstage with the artists, speaking to what's been happening in the real time that it's going down. So that happens in August, but next year, everything's going to be back, and we'll be at all the country festivals. We'll be at the hip hop festivals. We'll be everywhere again that music is. And this is how we've done it for years, and we'll continue to do it because we have partnerships with the bands and also with the festivals that are presenting these shows.
Yeah. And it also, I think back to searching on, you know, videos on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, how many videos just pop up on your feed that you're looking at, and it's got that SiriusXM logo or the media wall in the background. It's everywhere. And every time I see that logo on a video that I wasn't actually searching for, it just pops up. It just makes me feel so happy that I work for such a great company.
I really enjoy even like the Howard Stern performances.
Yeah.
Go through the archives. You can find a lot of stuff easily on our app, and it is incredible. Like it's.
I mean, Foo Fighters have been on there like 30,000 times, but
their annual visit.
Annual visit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's keep going here. So, and I don't think we need to talk too much about this, but we touched on this with the slide with all the logos. I mean, you name it. For the most part, we've got something for everybody. Whether it's music, if you're a Stern fan, I mean, Stern is so big for SiriusXM.
He has his own category.
He has his own category. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the sports, I mean, and we talked about this before. We don't have every single sports league in the world because there's too much to cover. But in the North American market, you name it, we got it. NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, PGA Sports, NHL for Canada. We're a hockey country. We've got it all. So
kind of hard to have a service without hockey in Canada.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's comments that people will make. Well, I can get my hockey fix from a number of different platforms. I'll say where we differentiate with not only hockey but all the majors, whether it's MLB or NBA or NFL. The artists the talent who are on these teams or playing with these franchises are constantly communicating with us. It's the NHL off season right now, but just this week we had, guys from the Tampa Bay Lightning who just won the cup join us, including the head coach. And that stuff goes on throughout the year. These channels don't just go dark because there's still things that are going on. There's going to be draft that's coming up. There's a new NHL team that's coming into the league. There's lots of implications to that, as half of the teams had to leave, half of the rosters unrestricted. So these guys that are working on these channels, and I know the hockey guys, because they're in our office, they live, eat, and breathe it. It's kind of weird how much detail they know about all of their the sports teams and the franchises, and it's that way across the board with all of our channels that support these various leagues.
Yeah, and Jeff, would you say that on specifically to the NHL Network, which is the channel that we produce here out of our Toronto office, is probably just as busy in the off season as it is during the season?
Yeah, it's quite a juggling act. This year it made it extra difficult because it's basically 2 seasons smashed into one. But there is, because we do have that draft that's coming up, and that's going to be a major event. From there, I mean, we're back into a full NHL season this fall. It's going to be an 82 game season, and we're going to have fans in seats and all of that. So there's a lot of things that keep on changing for sure.
I wanted to mention something about this slide, and this is something that I think Sirius does a really good job on, and that is the comedy. That's something I personally listen to a lot. And it's just one of those things that I would almost pay that subscription just for the comedy, because I listen.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who speak to that in the same way, because it is so unique. And with the number of comedy channels that we have, there really is comedy for everyone, the entire family. If you aren't into language in your comedy, totally fine. We've got clean comedy channels. If you're looking for extreme language in your comedy,
which is more my lane, but
we can find a spot for you. But comedy too is a real tough channel to program, because jokes get old. By comparison, we can hear our favorite songs by Pearl Jam, Ricky joke, again and again and again, and they keep on getting better. I love this song even more every time I hear it. You're speaking off the top about the memories and the thoughts it brings in when you hear those particular songs. Well, jokes don't work that way, and a lot of times jokes.
Can I argue with you on that one?
But jokes and timestamp themselves real fast. When you say, did you hear what President Trump said today, or did you hear what President Reagan said today? Like,
I'm sorry, I just keep running, for Eddie Murphy Delirious in my head. Like, I could watch that, listen to that anytime.
Look,
but
there's
very
comedy.
few classic. It's a classic, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you want real classic comedy, check out the George Carlin comedy channel, because
there
you go.
Yes,
just hits. But
nonstop.
For our comedy department, it's a task that they constantly need to manage, because as these jokes date themselves, we need to refresh and we need to get comedy recorded. And that is a tough thing during a pandemic, to record comedy, because the comics
no live
don't have an
audience.
audience and they live off an audience.
Yeah.
But they've done a tremendous job in finding unique ways and archiving cuts that if you turn on that comedy channel today, you would not know that we just came out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
See? Paul's listening to me.
I was going to say, and Jeff talked about this too. It's about the partnerships as well. I mean,
Yeah.
right there is a perfect example. You know, we got Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud, right? You know, having a partnership with a personality like that. I mean, how much bigger does it get, right?
Well, that's the thing. SXM pretty much has everybody. That's the crazy part. It's
And I even think
not
back
even an
to-
exaggeration to say that.
Yeah. And I think back to the days of prior to the merger in Canada, when I was working with Jeff on the XM side of the business, and we had this beautiful, huge corner lot studio at Davenport, and I went in there for a private interview with some other employees, with Russell Peters. And that was probably one of my I actually have pictures of that, but it was incredible. Like some of the people that come in, but the partnerships and the people that we get to work with is incredible.
Yeah, it is weird. I still find it weird when you can actually just text some of these people that, you know, are giant celebrities around the world, and they respond to you. But it is something that just we've committed ourselves to making the content about the subject and about the artist, and it's not about us as a programmer. And I think that's been one of the keys to our success, that with the consistency of continuing to deliver.
I'm starting to realize something, gentlemen, is that, you know, I think Rick had said something earlier, and I think I incorporated it into the description of today's show, whereby I think it was Jeff that you told me it is, you know, SiriusXM has become the most consumed source. Correct, phrase it properly for me, because I don't want to get this part wrong.
Yeah, so
What
as
was it
far
exactly?
as an audio content provider
Right.
in North America, with you know, we have Stitcher, we have Simplecast, we have Pandora, which is available in the US. We're actually we have the largest listening audience right now over any other company, and it's, you know, it's pretty cool.
To complement that, where I was going with it was, not only do you have the biggest, I think I am hard pressed to think of another single source of media that touches on so many categories and celebrities and lanes as does SiriusXM. Think about that for a second.
Yeah,
You
know
could
what?
have a television station, but you're not going deep or collaborating or partnering with any of these people. But SiriusXM truly is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
I'm not gonna
it's
argue with that
definitely
one,
a long
Ben.
day. Sometimes these guests come into our studios, and it can be a pretty long day because you're jumping around to all these different channels wherever that guest may be applicable. You know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
That's very
it's
interesting.
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue on these giant collaborators that you guys do stuff with.
And you touched on this in the beginning, Ben. You know, we have all these channels available for our subscribers, and that's great. But we can't just keep delivering the same thing over and over again and become stale. We always have to continue to evolve with what we have to offer within the channels themselves. And the fact that we can add on and bring on, you know, new content with some partnerships like what you see right here. You know, we brought on U2. What it was a couple of years ago, Jeff, that U2 came on, or was it last year?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
where we brought U2 in.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the fact that, you know, we have Pearl Jam Radio for me was enough, right? But bringing on U2 is just as big a juggernaut, you know, with what U2 brings to the music industry and their following. And then when we brought on Drake, well, that was ridiculous. I mean, everybody knows who Drake is. You know, he's the most streamed artist on Pandora in the US and Canada. Well, I mean, he's just as popular, if not more. I mean, he's the ambassador for the Raptors. He's, you know, Canadian born, and now he's got his own channel, you know, Sound 42. So for the biggest Drake fans out there, you know, I'm sure that they're going to be consuming this channel, and some people might even be subscribing just to get this one channel. You know, that's how big he is.
Yeah.
And Jeff talked on this before, and I'll let you touch on this as well. Jeff is some of the new channels that come in, not sometimes from a permanent basis or other times temporary, but maybe you can talk a little bit about, how we've evolved and what we brought on.
Yeah, there's always an appetite to bring in new content. The question is, who comes in when and how long do they stay? Everything has a different contract. Everybody has a different agreement. Everyone has a different feeling as to what they want. One of the things, though, that our company wants is to make sure the artist is involved. We want to make sure that they are a contributor. If they're not contributing to it, then what's the point of having the channel under their name? So you look at U2, the amount of content that they continue to provide with special guests that are hosting programs. We launched the U2 channel with that show at the Apollo in New York City. That was part of another SiriusXM experience. But you talk about Drake, and it's like, you're not going to hear just Drake on Sound 42. That doesn't make
there's a conception here, like, why am I listening to a station that just basically plays Drake songs?
No, exactly. You don't know. We know that we can do that, but to have someone like Drake introing a song that, hey, this is something that influenced me, or have you heard this song? This is really cool, because there's stuff that is debuted, stuff that people have never heard before. And that's also a thing that you can find probably on a majority of our channels. There is always discovery when it comes to the music channels. And you could say you're a giant music fan. I promise you haven't heard it all. And there's going to be something on one of these channels every day that you go, oh, I didn't know that was the case. That was the artist. That was the song. Didn't know that was even possible. Drake is definitely involved, hands-on, putting together playlists for us, contributing in terms of who the special guests are going to be, what are the special interviews, and what are the special programs that we're going to do with Drake.
Yeah. It's all about the partnerships, right?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We talked about this too in the last training session, but one thing that still has, with the acquisition of Stitcher, it really helped us get into a segment in the market that is so big, and something that we didn't really get involved in until recently, which is podcasts. And this kind of takes SiriusXM beyond just the traditional music, sports talk, and entertainment. This is being able to consume content in a different way. Being able to, some of the channels too that we have the rights for, you can actually download and listen to them offline, which is amazing. And then it goes back to the partnerships too with Marvel, which was a big one for us. But podcasts are huge, and a lot of people don't know that we have podcasts available now. So with your subscription, and if you buy add an SXV300 to your SiriusXM Ready head unit, and you're getting your first 3 months of our top tier platinum package, that includes all the different streaming benefits you have available, including the podcasts, which is amazing. And I encourage you, if you have the app, make sure that you check out what's available on the podcast selections.
So
have you used the podcast? Yeah. Have you used the podcast yet, Jeff?
Have I used it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of my jobs, making sure that the podcasts go up. So, so I'm deep into that business right now. And I'll say that, there's the nice thing about podcasts, and a lot of them that we have on SiriusXM, is the shows are pretty snackable. They're not these, 3 hour long. It's going to take the rest of your day to get to the point. A lot of them are, 30 minutes long. And, if you like your Canadian content and you like your Canadian current issues, I would recommend that people check out Peter Mansbridge, who has signed on with us. And
actually, why don't we jump to the next slide, I think, which is what we're going to talk about next. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. The bridge, Peter Mansbridge. Yeah. So Peter, it's so interesting working with Peter, because he's such an icon and he is such a good read. Like, his vocabulary, it just is so easy to listen to. The way he presents any of the topics that he's doing on his show, The Bridge, it's just really cool. And it's nice to have him to give a Canadian perspective, because that's one thing that people forget about too, that we may not be super always concerned about what Canadian band we're listening to, but we definitely are waving our hand in the air saying, I need to hear about my community. I need to hear about my country when it comes to talk. And that's a lot of what we are developing right now with SiriusXM, and Peter with The Bridge is definitely leading the way.
Yeah, when it comes to podcasts, it's kind of funneled down to something very specific, and that's why you enjoy listening to it, right? You can find exactly what it is. Going back to that previous slide, I'm a big comic book geek. The Marvel ones just totally speak to me. It refreshes my passion for the comic book genre, because there's different ones. Like you saw, there was two there. With The Bridge, one of the comments that you hear often, I'm going to bring this up. SiriusXM is great, but I don't get any local content.
Yeah. And you know what? We do want that. There's no question. And that's where the talk portion of our programming definitely assists in that. And now as we've opened up the podcast door, bringing in Peter, and more coming, I promise you, I have contracts that are being processed right now. We will have some much bigger names coming that across the Canadian landscape to provide more Canadian content. So look for that.
Canadian landscape, big names. Really, I have two in
big
mind
ones
that I'm curious about, but we'll save that for another day.
They're on their way.
Wow, very cool.
And such an icon too that Peter Mansbridge is, but also the icon, from a music perspective, it doesn't really get much bigger than the Tragically Hip. And again, so great that we have Jeff on, because Jeff is actually the one that runs this channel himself. Jeff, you want to talk a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes and how this came to fruition?
Yeah, years ago we thought of, hey, maybe we could do a Tragically Hip radio day, and then it became a weekend. And finally, I was able to convince all our partners and all of our teams at SiriusXM, we should just make this a regular occurrence. And it's been so much fun to work with the Tragically Hip. I think it's almost engaged them in a way that they have so much content that hasn't been released that we continually bring out on the channel that is unique and exclusive to the channel. We've got some new stuff coming up in 3 weeks' time, like just unreleased live recordings. We had a live recording, I think, that came to us last year. We had to ask the fans by broadcasting it. Does anybody know where this is from? Because they had just basically a tape of a show that they came across. And it's like, we know it's from this tour in the 90s, but we're not sure where. It could be the East Coast of the US. And it's just wild to see that there's so much content still coming from one of Canada's most beloved bands.
That's super cool. I don't know what else to say about that.
No, and to have like someone like Rob Baker, guitarist for the Tragically Hip, he hosts a weekly show on the channel, and just the fact that he's calling up and saying, yeah, I got a new show ready. It's like, okay, anything you want, sir.
So you're in direct dialogue with them.
Well, yeah, and it goes to say, like, just the same thing that we've been saying. It's that partnership with the artist. They have to be involved, because you just don't want, and I'm going to make a Pearl Jam joke, you just don't want Ricky programming Pearl Jam radio, right?
No, you don't.
So we want to make sure that the artist is engaged and that we continue to grow the channel and develop good content.
Is that Hip channel also available in the US, or is that a Canadian thing?
Yeah, you can hear it throughout the US as well.
Oh, in the US as well.
And this is and we're going to talk a little bit more on the Canadian side, but this is why what SiriusXM does for the Canadian market and for the Canadian artists is so important, because we're not just giving them a platform to the Canadian market. We're giving them a platform to a larger North American audience, which, especially people on the comedy side, for comedians that are really trying to break through. I mean, there have been some amazing comedians that have broken through the Canadian market and stayed within the Canadian market. And there's other ones that have expanded into the US and gone huge.
Yeah.
But we are, you know, we can be one of the best springboards for some of the Canadian artists that we partner with.
I'll tell you, we program a new, it's kind of an indie alternative channel called The Verge on SiriusXM. And when we first started this channel about 15 years ago, we were playing all these different artists and titles, and they're all like developing bands. And one band called up and said, "Hey, are you playing us on satellite?" Like all confused and all this stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, totally. You know, playing this title and this title." "Oh, okay." Because some guy just tried to book us a show in Reno, and we're like, "How did you find out about us?" And
Oh,
and
wow.
And so there is so much discovery that happens all the time
amazing.
with artists.
Yeah, and we talked about. Sorry to cut you off, Ben, but
No,
you know,
okay.
we talked about this in one of our last sessions. But again, just the ability to, you know, put out these forums and contests like Top of the Country and Top Comic for, you know, for the best in Canada to really put everything forward, give it everything they got to really come out on top, and like it's just incredible. Again, the springboard that we can offer for some of these artists. And then on top of that, all the different festivals, and Jeff talked about this before, I mean, Boots and Hearts, we, you know, unfortunately haven't been able to do this for the last year or so, but some of the festivals that we participate in and allow and provide these Canadian artists the opportunity to participate in with us as well is just incredible.
Yeah, it's, you know, speaking on my side, with the bands that we deal with, we've had artists participate at all of those events, from the Grey Cup to NHL All-Star Game and beyond. And it's been so much fun having the bands in some of these events, like taking our Kells down to Las Vegas to play the NHL Awards, and just doing the coordination to set up a broadcast from beside a pool with a band. And I'll say one funny thing, the weirdest thing that I've ever done in my life is I introduced the Stanley Cup that day. Like, it was honestly, ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please welcome the Stanley Cup. And it's like, wow, I'm now introing objects, no longer people.
Lord Stanley's Cup.
You know, quickly, Top of the Country and Top Comic, you said springboard. I think it's like the same thing. It's about accelerating your career path. And it's really cool to be part of these programs where we can help out artists, whether it's on the comedy side or on the music side, to really help them navigate through this giant nest of what is happening in terms of career and what's in front of them with management and labels and everything. So it's cool to be part of that, for sure.
Yeah.
And kudos to Sirius for doing that. I think it's important that, you know, a brand such as yourselves get involved on that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you want to get a sense of all the different music artists and comedians that come through this, through these two platforms, you can always visit our YouTube page, our SiriusXM Canada YouTube page, and a lot of these performances are available there for you to check out. So, you know, ultimately there's only one winner for these, but we're still providing a platform for all the artists that and comedians that participate. You got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's our ongoing commitment to content.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it on the programming side. And now we wanted to kind of turn our attention towards the different ways to listen, which I think is important to cover off here and really kind of round out, you know, the content and how it gets delivered. So one thing that I think we've moved away from and how we've evolved at SiriusXM is not limiting ourselves to one format of how you're going to listen to and consume our content. We don't want to say you can only listen to us in your vehicle through satellite and that's it. We've evolved in a way that we want people to consume our content wherever you are, whether you're in your car, whether you're at home, whether you're at the gym, you're taking your dog for a walk. We have the capability of giving you access to our content however you want. So listening in your vehicle, one thing that we are very proud of, we work with every single OEM manufacturer in North America to, you know, put our technology in as many vehicles as we can, so that if you're buying a new vehicle and it's SiriusXM equipped, you're driving off the lot, you're going to get a 90-day free trial, and you're going to be able to enjoy it in vehicle. But that's for in your vehicle. You want to be able to take that experience out. And also too, for the ones that are not factory equipped, well, we have solutions that on one of the later connected shows, we're going to, dive into the aftermarket side of the business, but we have aftermarket solutions to equip you if you're not factory equipped. And then once we get into the streaming side, to be able to take it portably and listen to it at home, again, we don't want to restrict people to say, you have to listen to it this way. We are SiriusXM. We removed the satellite radio tag from our logo because we are SiriusXM, a content provider, not a satellite radio provider. So, that's basically what we're trying to accomplish here. And with the streaming side too, one of the benefits, amongst many benefits, but the ones that I want to highlight here, the extra channels that are available. But my favorite feature on the streaming lineup is the personalized stations by Pandora. So even though Pandora, which is the juggernaut of streaming platforms in the US, is not available in Canada, with that partnership now with Pandora, we're able to provide the features and benefits of the Pandora engine and that algorithm, so that you can actually create like over 150 of these channels personalized for you. So if you're searching for an artist on the app and you'll see Pandora station or Pandora channel and you click on that, now it's going to you've created your custom channel for that artist. And to be able to thumb up and thumb down songs that come on will allow you to customize that mood and that channel. So you're really creating something that's unique for you. And my favorite benefit of this too, not that I don't like to hear interruptions like channel IDs and stuff, but for those that just want to hear music and nothing else, it is song after song with no interruptions, no channel IDs, no DJ chatter. So if you just want to hear music, that's where you're going to get it. SiriusXM video, again, a lot of people don't know that we have this available. You can actually watch some of Stern's interviews with some of the greats that come into his studio, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer. I like to pull up my when I have people come over and we just want something playing in the background, we'll put our smart TV on and we'll have, the in-studio performances playing in the background, which is a great touch because people love to see that, not just hear, but being able to get that visual experience that you get out of our studios. And then the podcast we talked about as well. So again, we continue to evolve, not just in our content, but the ways to listen. And I think it's very important that we continue to do that if we're going to continue to maintain our stature as being a leader in the entertainment provider.
This last slide, Ricky,
Yeah.
we don't have much time left, but I mean, this is, I feel, represents one of the biggest evolutions in what SiriusXM offers now, this right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, being able to listen at home in various different ways is truly important, because the way people consume entertainment at home has evolved so much. And like with Amazon and Google, what they have put forward and the technology and the intelligence behind their devices, the fact that we are now integrated within these platforms, I don't need to pull up my phone anymore and select a channel. I can just say, hey, Google, play SiriusXM 80s on 8 or SiriusXM Pearl Jam Radio, whatever it is that I want to consume. If I want to get some news in the morning, I can speak to the device and it'll play it for me. So there's lots of different options, the smart TV side, Apple TV, Sonos, Roku. It's, the options are endless, and we continue to expand our partnerships with various manufacturers across North America.
Okay. While I have you, Jeff, before we let you go, we learned a lot on today's session, all about content. We now are very jealous of the job that you do on a daily level. But I'm going to ask a hard question. It's a question that I've been asked, off air many occasions, and I think I have the right brain power, right representatives here to answer said question. We've taken the time to showcase just the depth and the vast selection of content that SiriusXM provides. What about those out there say, yeah, but I'm okay with my Spotify. It's a monthly subscription. I get, no ads or anything like that. I get to make my playlist. So I'd like to hear what you have to say to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of options out there, no question. I think the nice thing about people going over to Spotify or any other service is that they know that they want something that is better than what was free, for basically all of our lives, and that being terrestrial radio. So that's encouraging because they want to go deeper into music. They want to go deeper into comedy and deeper into content. The difference between a SiriusXM and, a Spotify today is all of our brand partnerships and all of our unique deals that we have, whether it's Tom Petty Radio, which continues on SiriusXM. And, when you hear his show, Deep Tracks, I mean, it's so incredible hearing Tom and the influences that he has in his show, Buried Treasure, which is on Deep Tracks. But I think that's going to be something that's going to set us apart between the two services. You're getting all of your major league content, whether it's the NFL or NBA or NHL, that is all there. And we're talking about almost every game. There's a lot of games, and I don't know why you want to listen to the Carolina Hurricanes play the St. Louis Blues, but if that's your thing, we've got it, right? So that's totally cool. So there's that differentiator. And then, just the top-notch talk content that we have. It's interesting. We have a channel that's called Canada Talks, and there are a lot of Canadian people who live throughout the U.S., snowbirds, who are listening every single day because they're finally getting that unique content that they otherwise would be going without. And these are differentiators for sure between the two services.
Very, very well said.
Yeah.
And Spotify is just music, man. That's what I say. It's just music. Ricky, one more tough question before we let you go. And we get to, because we talk to a specific audience. This audience, we're talking about high-end car audio. And there are certain enthusiasts that are, very adamant about how they want the best possible stream quality signal. So, mentions of services like Tidal, right, which offers a higher resolution. What do you have to say to that?
I mean, it's a pretty big sandbox. I would think that there's a market for everybody. Tidal is a very niche market with people that are looking for something specific. But again, what Jeff is talking about is you can't get the amount of content and partnerships on Tidal or anywhere else like you get with SiriusXM. And sure, I get it that if you're participating in a car show, and you want to really show you just spent $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on completely redoing the audio system in your vehicle, and you want to show it off, you might want to go with something like Tidal to really, get the maximum audio output and quality. But we're pretty darn good from a quality perspective. We wouldn't have these partnerships with every single OEM manufacturer in North America if our quality wasn't that good, and our streaming quality is even better. You have different levels of our stream quality. So there's a time and place for everything. But we are providing a lifestyle for the majority of your time, right? So you're spending all your time in your vehicle, driving to work. You're at home. We're providing something for everybody. And like I said, the sandbox is big enough for everybody to play in. So
I'm going to say something here, Ricky, that you're going to love. You're absolutely going to love what I'm about to say because our dealers are listening.
Yeah.
Those other services don't put money in your pocket, guys.
They do not.
SiriusXM.
They absolutely do not.
So
100%.
Let's
the one thing too that just popped in my head before we jump off here is the one thing that we forgot to mention too is, and you talked about the snowbirds, right? Those that are driving all the way down, whether they're flying or whether they're driving, right? You have to think about it too. The satellite service is still so highly valued too, especially for those that are driving into the US. Because as soon as you go into the US, and if you're just streaming on your phone, you're switching over to roaming. And if you don't have a really good roaming package, you're going to be paying
You're getting hammered.
Or if you forget to switch over, right?
Yeah, because none of us have ever done that before.
With our service, you can drive coast to coast North America, and you can receive all that content and not have to worry about these additional fees.
100%.
So anyways, that's it.
No, Jeff, we're going to let you go. Thank you for taking the time with us. I'm going to finish off with Rick here. We've got some important news that we need to get to our dealers, but thank you so much for spending the time with us. And
thanks for having me.
Doing the great work that you're doing, man.
Thanks,
Jeff. We'll check in with you guys soon. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks, Jeff. So, Ricky, we're down to the end of the show. There's some important information we got to get out to the dealers listening. And first of all, if you want more details, you want to make sure you visit SiriusXM.ca/never miss a beat, because you got different deals going on. Everything is on the website, SiriusXM.ca. Now, the very last thing we have to mention, there's going to have to be some type of special. Ricky wouldn't let you guys hang like this, would he? Ricky, what's the special?
I certainly would not. I'm not going to tell you what the special is, but I'm going to tell you that it's a limited time. Mm-hmm. You have until Monday to order, and I've worked with and sent out the details to all of our amazing Canadian distributor partners in Canada, so they are ready for you. Make sure that you check out your dealer or installer community pages through CMA.
We'll be posting the special in our dealer groups, so make sure you take a look at that. And there is, very important, we have to mention this, there is a limited timeline on this offer. It is only good until Monday. So we're going to get this up right away after this show ends. But you got to make sure you get your orders in by Monday. Yeah.
And no issues with supply. So
very important. Yep.
So you'll be good to go. So I encourage you to, after this, over the course of the next couple of days, make sure you reach out to your distributor that you mainly work with, and they will be happy to help you out.
Great, man. Great show today, Rick. Learned a lot. I think that was a good one. And really, really appreciated having Jeff on. That was some serious insights. Some great.
There's only so much that I can talk about on the programming side, and I think you get it. Like when I talk about the programming, how excited I am, because the content is the reason why people love SiriusXM and why I've been with the company for so long. But even still, I can't speak to the programming like somebody like Jeff can. And it was incredible to have him on. So I'm so happy.
Super happy to have him on. Absolutely. Yeah. Sir, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. We will talk to you soon. And thanks for making the time for us today.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Take care. That was Mr. Ricky Lima's, everybody's best friend in the Canadian 12-volt industry. Joining also was Mr. Jeff Leake, who is the director of programming over at SXM. Learned a lot, guys. Content is king. Ricky said it. And why was it so important that we did this? Because you need to understand when the customer comes in what they're getting. And if you can convert that and understand what they're getting and make it sound and make them understand the incredible content they'll be getting, then you just secured yourself an extra install sale. And like I said, I went straight up. I asked them, the questions. Those other services don't put money in your pocket, guys. So think about that. We'll be back tonight. Make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. We got a CMA Live going down this evening. It's all about essential gear. We've got some pretty cool brands on this evening. And we'll also be back on Friday for our last CMA Connected of the week. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Thanks for tuning in to CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. Until next time, we connect.